Um, all right, so we'll get started today. Hello, I'm so happy to see everyone here. We have a very special guest all the way from Paris, but by way of Tunisia first. She was born as a Tunisian national and has been studying the Maghrebi art for many years now. In fact, I saw her speak at an international conference in 2017, knowing that we had the year of Morocco ahead of us. And when she started speaking and she was telling us all about the Moroccan artists that we want to focus on for this year of Morocco, I said we must have her. So we wrote a college spotlight grant. And so we were able to bring Sirine Abdelhedi here for a presentation and for the Year of Morocco conference that we have just completed this past weekend. So we've had a really wonderful time exploring Atlanta with Mona Hussein, who is our resident artist and professor in the Department of Visual Art, or the School of Art and Design, excuse me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sirine. After completing her studies in communication and graphic design at the High Institute of Arts and Crafts in Sfax, Tunisia, Sirine graduated from Paris First Pantheon Sorbonne University in 2016 with 2 degrees, a major in design, media and technology, and a research master in cultural studies. In 2016, she joined Paris 8 University for the professional master's degree focused on museums, heritage, and digital mediation, set up in partnership with the Paris Nanterre University. After several professional experiences in communication agencies, Sirine developed an interest in art history, art markets, and cultural industries. Thus, she joined the Friends of the Centre Pompidou and the Troisième Pôle teams, expanding her skills in project management, communication, and partnerships, international relations, and sponsorship. In parallel with her professional work, she developed a research agenda and has presented at international scientific conferences such as the 3rd Symposium of Contemporary Artistic Practices and the Issues of Their Reception in Saliana, thank you, Tunisia, in March 2017, the 35th InSEA International Congress, Spirit Art Digital in Daegu, Korea, in August 2017, and the 3rd International Workshop, Changes and Continuities, Global History, Visual Cultures, and Itinerancies, in Lisbon, Portugal, in September 2017. So I ask you to please join me in welcoming Dr. Abdelhedi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Sandra, for introducing me, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm so grateful and honored to have this presentation with you and to participate in the events within the Year of Morocco. I would like also to thank all people and all the faculty members who are engaged within within the Year of Morocco programs. It's really a wonderful opportunity, and this is how humanity could evolve, doing these international encounters. So I would like to mention before starting that I tried to make a selection of artists, presenting female artists and male artists, and presenting artists who are using different mediums and different materials. So the contemporary art scene in Morocco is very rich and very interesting, so we could not present all of them. So let's go ahead. So before we look at the aspects of the present, I think it's useful to remind some events that have marked the history of art in Morocco, and to highlight the paths of some actors whose contribution was fundamental for the development of contemporary art in the kingdom. At the dawn of the 20th century, the destiny of Morocco, like the majority of the African countries, could not escape Western colonization. The signature of the Treaty of Fez here on March 30, 1912, allowed the establishment of a Franco-Spanish protectorate. The Spanish dominated the Rif region in the north of Morocco, while the French exerted their power in the central southern part of the country. Two institutions dedicated to art education were created under the colonization system, and which belongs today to Moroccan authorities. The École des Beaux-Arts of Casablanca, or the Fine Art School of Casablanca, created in 1950, and the École des Beaux-Arts of Tétouan, created in 1945. So according to art historian Tony Marini, there is a popular pictorial tradition that did not come to Morocco in the ranks of colonism. Morocco is at the crossroads of civilization and cultures. Miniatures, illuminations, arabesque, Berber signs, decoration of Islamic architecture and other items from their culture have inspired generation of autodidactic artists who employ technique that belongs to these aesthetic registers. I mentioned a few. Here is Mohammed bin Ali Rabati. Here is Mohammed bin Alal, le souk au panier, the basket souk. Here is Moulay Ahmed Douisi. Shaibia Talal. Hassan el-Glawi. So their production were called wrongly so-called naive during the protectorate. But we might ask naive according to whom and in what context. We can observe a balance between colors and shapes, figurative details that tell different stories, expressiveness of the drawing gesture. Here with Shaibia also we find there is color thickness in her gesture. Here is Hassan el-Glawi work. So they all started exhibiting from the 1950s in Morocco and abroad. Here is Fatima Hassan al-Farouj, another artist. The year before and following the independence, 1956, are decisive for the future of contemporary art in Morocco. A new generation of artists benefit from scholarships to continue their artistic training, and others abroad, and others choose to stay. When talking about the birth of abstraction in painting in Morocco, the names of Ahmed Shirqawi and Jilali Gharbawi are directly mentioned. Shirqawi draws on his heritage to create contemporary work. He uses signs from the alphabet Tifinagh, and he does enlargements so that the shape occupies the space of the canvas. He also uses bright color in the background, dark color, so to highlight the shape also. As for Gharbawi, he chose to express himself through the pictorial gesture. His work is characterized by violent and rapid gestures. The imbalance in his private life has influenced him very much in his work. For that, there's a lot of violent gestures. So in 1962, upon his return to Morocco, Farid Belkahia turned over the direction of the École des Beaux-Arts of Casablanca, a position that he held until 1974. Joined by artist teacher Mohamed Melihi and Mohamed Shib'a, and historians Tony Marini and Bert Flint, they have abandoned established teaching and conventions and artistic teaching methods spread during the French protectorate in favor of an artistic education that takes into account the different aspects of Moroccan culture for the creation of modern works. Like many other artists, they have thought about the future of Moroccan art by refuting the idea which reduced it to naive, or to the naive art spread and encouraged during the colonial and post-colonial periods. Their collaboration is at the origin of the artistic movement School of Casablanca. Moraini says, more than a style, modernity, thus understood, was a spirit and an attitude. Far from being established like an academy of style, The modern art became the space of questioning and unveiling. They encourage their students to create outside the academic sphere and go to meet the public. The open-air exhibition here in Jama al-Fna Square in 1969, they made it to challenge the folklorization of Moroccan art defended in neo-colonial salons. Represents a historical moment in Moroccan history of art. During that period also, quality art and culture journals were born. Maghreb art, here from 1965 to 1969, was published by the School of Casablanca. This one. Souffle magazine from 1966 to 1973, initiated by poets Abdelatif Labi and Mustafa Nissabouri, and then the cover of the journal was created by Mohamed Melihi. I will talk about him later. And they have collaborated to write different articles and to publish them in Souffle magazine. And at the end, the Integral magazine created in 1971, 1977. You will ask maybe why there are short periods. It's because during the reign of Hassan II, the period from 1970 to 1999 is called the Years of Lead. And this period was characterized by human rights violation of those who were considered a threat to the regime. So for example, Abdelatif Labi, the poet who initiated this journal, he was in jail, and so for that the journal was interrupted. And also Belkahia, he left the school because he has a lot of repression from police, so they left the school. As well as the exhibition, the open-air exhibition, when the public started interested to know about their work and how they are working, the police interrupted the exhibition. So if you are interested to know more, there is a novel, a very interesting one, written by Tahir Ben Jaloun. It's called This Blinding Absence of Light. And it relates what happened in Tazmamart prison, which was people or a number of policemen were present there during 18 years. So let's move to talk about Belkahia. So he was born in Marrakech in 1934 and passed away in 2014. He studied painting at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, after which he moved to Warsaw in Poland to study design and scenography at the National Theatre. At the beginning of his career, he produced works of art which showed damages caused by war and the barbarity of which human beings exert on their fellows. He translated torture into a plastic language by dark colors, disfigured faces, and stripped bodies. In 1958, he engaged in a quest for origins, and since his artistic vocabulary is nourished by geometric patterns, Berber signs, for example, the Tifinagh alphabet, cultural themes such the Melhoun, the medieval poetry as a tribute to women and femininity, the Dawn, Lamira, which is a queen in the Gnawa ritual. And in Saturday night, the Gnawa concert, they sang a song tribute to Lamira, and it was nice to hear, to listen to them. Jerusalem also, and a lot of other themes. He replaced canvas by traditional materials, mainly copper and naturally dyed skin. So here is copper. He experienced it for 10 years, and then he experienced the naturally dyed skin, which becomes his favorite media for almost 40 years. We can see here, for example, the palette of colors of Belkahia. It's also the result from his use of natural pigment, henna, saffron, cobalt, because the naturally dyed skin could not absorb chemical pigments. So the material led him to explore new other ways of expression in new mediums. Also, if you see his work, we could tell that he's doing shaped skin, like shaped canvas, but his shaped skin. This piece, for example, is composed of two different components. So here we move to talk about Melihi. He's born in 1936 in El Sila, Morocco, and he's still alive. He creates visual contrast by opposing a geometrical composition to the shape of the wave, which is a key element in his work. Melihi studied in different cities, from Tetuan to Seville to Madrid to Italy to end up in New York, where he stayed between 1962 and 1964, thanks to a scholarship from the Rockefeller Foundation. Discovering the American geometric abstraction was fundamental for the development of his work. Geometric composition, arrangements of plans, blocks of bright colors, curved lines that create movement and rhythm are all elements of his artistic vocabulary. He went back to Morocco in 1964 and he joined the team of Farid Belkahia, and he participated actively in organizing the artistic field. So he was a founding member of the Casablanca School until 1969. He was a participating artist at the open-air exhibition in Jama al-Fna Square, 1969. He was the co-founder with Mohammed bin Isa. He's a former Minister of Culture in Morocco, the Musam of Asila in 1978. And this event is considered as a laboratory of artistic creation. For example, here, at the invitation of Melihi, artists released wall painting in Asila to renew the city. He was also the graphic designer of Souffle magazine. He was the editor of the journal Integral, and he was the director of the Association of Moroccan Painters created by the Ministry of Culture. So Mohamed Melihi is a living witness of artists bubbling of the École des Beaux-Arts of Casablanca, and he is a major player in the Moroccan artistic and cultural scene. Here, this piece also, here we see, this is a work by Farid Belkahia, and here in the right there is Mohamed Hamidi. He's another artist who joined the team of the École des Beaux-Arts of Casablanca, and he participated at the Jama al-Fna Square as well. And he's interested in women body as well as the signs and symbols of African art. Here is a work by Hussein Miloudi, another artist who is originally from Essaouira in Morocco. So this another work by Mohamed Sheba. Mohamed Sheba, he graduated from the National Institute of Fine Arts of Tetuan, and he stayed in Rome between 1962 and 1964 to continue his studies at the Academy of Fine Arts. Back to Morocco, he joined the team, Belkahia, and the team of the School of Casablanca. He was a strong advocate of introducing traditional arts into painting and of integrating art into the public space. Thus, he participated at the open-air exhibition in Jama al-Fna, and he contributed to Souffle magazine. And he also published several writings on the identity of painting in Morocco. Both lyrical and geometric, Mohamed Sheba's painting is dominated by abstraction. He was appointed director of the National Institute of Fine Arts of Tetuan from 1994 to 1998, and then he was a professor at the National School of Architecture in Rabat. So we can see the difference between his works in the 1960s and 1970s, and then this piece done in 2010. So let's move to talk a bit about the School of Tetuan. Here's the work by Fawzi Latiris. He's born in 1985 in Emil Shale, Morocco, and he is a multidisciplinary artist. He studied at the École des Beaux-Arts of Tetuan and at the École des Beaux-Arts of Bourges in France. After his return to Morocco, he became a teacher at the National Institute of Fine Arts of Tetuan. In 1993, he set up the volume installation workshop, which represents a key moment when his work as an artist became an integral part of his commitment to teaching. He contributed to the training of most remarkable artists of a generation, the Tetuan generation, which included Safar Rouaz, Batul Sahimi, Younes Rahmoun, Mohsin Harraqi, and Mustafa Akrim. Since the 1990s, he has developed an aesthetic of hybridization, which lies at the crossroads of sculpture, installation, performance, and public space, and resonate with the economic and urban upheaval taking place in third world countries in the global economy. So here is a piece of Younes Rahmoun. He's born in 1975 in Tetuan, and he lives and works in Tetuan, Morocco. In 1998, he graduated from the National Institute of Fine Arts of Tetuan. Therefore, his mother gives him a small room under the stairs that he considered as a space of work, of meditation and exhibition during 7 years. Here's the sketch of his room. His approach combines artistic practice and spiritual one. Through the work Ghurfa, he is developing since 2006, literally room or chamber in Arabic. Rahmoun invites the spectator to discover his intimate space and to enter into his story. In his work, he refers to the Islamic religion, number 7, which represent the heathen, for example, or 77, which are the branches of faith, the Sufi philosophy, but also the social and political context. So here there is an installation of 77 glass, and you come inside the structure to see the installation. Here another piece that belongs to the Centre Pompidou collection, and you can see small houses as well. And inside them there is colors, we cannot see them, but here there is small colors, and it's kind of different colors are infinity represent infinity in his work. He also always attribute Arabic titles in his composition. Here is Manzir Jannah, this one is Ghurfa, this one is Zahra Zujaj, which means flower glass. So he also have another piece called Markib Manzil Mauja, which means small boat, house, and wave, to question immigration. Okay, we'll put a video. So in his work there is a presence of architecture and a spiritual reading of spaces of habitation from an individual and collective perspective. Hence, he creates a connection between the external world and the introspective experience in order to communicate a universal message. Multidisciplinary artist, he explores installation, drawing, new technologies, and multimedia, as well as local crafts. So here, this is work by Safa Rouas. She's born in 1976 in Tétouan, lives and works in Tétouan as well. She's graduated in 1998 from the National Institute of Fine Arts. Safa Rouas traveled through various Moroccan cities to inventory patterns and colors of the souks. The artist felt the need to purify her universe. All these colors gave place to monochrome, the white. She has since been distinguished by a radical approach. She is oriented toward monochrome, the white, and the materials she uses evokes lightness, softness, transparency, and symbolize extreme violence. The confusion of forms includes, on the other hand, the feelings. All these issues related to the body are suggested. The body as object, illness of the body, or people living in changing societies with uncertain political conditions. In an interview, Rouas tells that she derives her inspiration from her personal story as well as from the collective world. All the events happening in Morocco and around the world, all the images shared through the media enrich her work. She communicates an emotional reality through her work, or in other words, she gives shapes to emotions. She has a desire to erase, hence the non-use of color and the transparency. She uses white to reset everything and try to keep the whiteness of the surface she's working on. To reach her aim, Safarouas uses clothes, gauzes, ceramic beads, cotton, needles, which are all soft and sharp materials, who both oppose and gather themselves to showcase powerful words. In her creative process, she uses repetition. She considers it as a work therapy, a philosophy which gives sense to objects and creates images. Repetition highlights the visible in the invisible and forces the idea of movement that tells the migratory flows. She also explores the idea of geography torn and cut by political and social turmoil. Safarouas works with both the idea of visible with visible and invisible without any opposition between these two words. She is considered as one of the important figures of contemporary art in Morocco, and she celebrated this year 20 years of career. So I would like to read the artist's statement. She said, "The whiteness of my work is a deliberate constraint. For the past several years, the work has focused on the complexity and permanent tension between sensation, perception, and experience. My material are varied and highly referential. Swing needles, razor blades, gauze strips, metallic thread, cotton paper. I control their effect through monochrome in a conscious attempt to create suggestive forms which delineate borders between the private and social spheres. Experience, perceptions, and sensation are inextricable and inexpressible with words. Sirine color is a strategy attenuate to the impossibility of voicing my concerns. There is a neutrality of the artist persona which frees the viewer to interpret the metaphors according to her own sensibilities. The work produces its own symbols and allows for the creation of polyvalent images. The whiteness of my work is means, medium, message. I show my work to hide my sensibility. Outside the studio, I have no control. There is a joy and beauty, yet there is war, famine, and penury. And then my joy is contaminated by a feeling of incapacity with regard to the horrors which surround us." So I will move to talk about another artist whose name Mohsen Harraqi. He's born in 1981 in InSEA, Morocco, and he lives and works in Paris. He graduated from the National Institute of Fine Arts in Tétouan in 2007 and the High School of Art in Toulon after. He's a multidisciplinary artist. He questions history and explores the mechanism of cultural construction, of collective memory, and of power through different mediums: video, sculpture, drawing, and installation. He considers the value of connections. Words and inventions come from various directions. He is interested in genealogy, the migration of ideas, the transmission of knowledge, and the role the language plays in all of that. Through his artistic practice, Harraqi is doing an archaeology of knowledge and storytelling. For that, the family trees are very important in his process. He goes back in time and he invites the spectator to rethink current social, cultural, and political situations, such as racism, power, the mechanism of writing history, through stories that takes its source in a distant time. Here is another, he materialized the family trees. Here there is 8 family trees, and each one represents a word. Here is the word of creation. I will show you also a video. He was inspired by the work of Ibn Shatir, which is an Arabic astronomer in the 14th century. And those are 4 screen video. Here it was in exhibited in a gallery, but in the original piece, there are 4 big screens separated. And it's a silent work. It's called Anwar al-Nujum, which means the light of stars. and he got inspiration from the illustration of the Ibn Shatir, and he tried to make a movement in them, so to give a movement to the stars. It stays for 2.5 minutes, I think. So here another artist, Mustafa Akrim, born in 1981 in Salé, Morocco, next to Rabat. He's graduated in 2008 from the National Institute of Fine Arts of Tétouan. Akrim reflects on collective memory. He values the values of citizenship and social changes in Morocco. After his graduation, he assisted his father on building sites, from where he developed an interest in the notion of work, and also he developed an interest to concrete, which becomes his favorite medium. In 2017, he plays a tribute to the working life through his exhibition Construction Site 2. He casts different construction materials and objects in concrete. Here it is. He did like a museum for working people. The chapter 13, which is this piece, All Citizens Have the Equal Rights of Education and Employment. It's a chapter, an article in the Moroccan Constitution. And by reading the chapter in concrete, the artist shows that education and work are cements of the society. He says a good education is needed to train a generation. When you come from a popular background in Morocco, you live in an environment where you have little chance of success. It is either education that saves us or we are drawn to delinquency. So here another piece called No Work. He is questioning the fact that there is a lot of unemployment in Morocco, and he uses materials, work materials from different environments. Here is another piece called Still Life, a recent piece, which is not represented to symbolize the hunter triumph. The artist uses the metaphor to deny ecological disaster, the extinction of animal species in Africa. Standing on a large table, his staged death can be seen as a criticism of the political decision that destroy the natural ecosystem in the continent. Let's move to another powerful work done by Mohamed Lekleti, another artist born in 1965 in Taza, Morocco. He lives and works in Montpellier in France. Graduated in cinema and fine arts from University of Aix-en-Provence in France, Lekleti draws upon and subverts the canon of Western art history in his production of large-scale drawing and mixed media works. His drawings on paper offer an insight into the dark and sometimes violent enmeshment of humans and machines within the mechanics of daily life. Creating a visual language rooted in mythology, the figures in his works coil around each other as if in combat and convey a sense of the fractured and fragile existence of the human experience. Through his illustrative qualities, Lekleti has an ability to compose complex and ambiguous scenes, maps, popular images, surrealist documents, encyclopedic elements, diagrams of instructions for use, animals, sketches, writing and typography, discrete signs are solicited simultaneously. Everything is stretched, deformed, multiplied, animals as human figures. Characters are overturned, head down. The flatness, the elevation, the hierarchy of the representation, its order has been deconstructed, dissociated, and defeated by the artist, so that a work of free recomposition of the image is conveyed. So that image produced by the artist can then appear beyond the simple desire to represent as a temporary enigma to the exercise of thinking. Here is one of the last pieces when Trump declared Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So he said, as an artist, I declare Washington the capital of Palestine. And it's an auto-portrait, one of his recent pieces. Here we move to talk about Amina Agznai. She's born in 1963 in Casablanca, Morocco, where she lives and works. Her textile installations owe much to her training as an architect. She graduated in 1989 from the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., and spent 8 years as an architect in the United States before moving back to Morocco to practice jewelry design and art. Designed as a veritable ode to material, her first collections adopted simple objects with modern use and form, created using traditional skills and the product of her own experimentation. Reconnecting with certain architectural applications, she imagined spectacular jewelry pieces, then XXL body installations that grew progressively to occupy space entirely, to the determinant of the body. Amina Aghiznei feeds a particular attachment in the traditional materials of her country. Since her beginnings, she chose to comfort the expertise of masters, craftsmanship felt in her own creation vision, to make us discover new forms of reflection around sometimes impressive structured creation. So this is a piece commissioned by the Foundation of InSEA, and it is in show right now in Marrakech at the Museum of Contemporary African Art, El Maden. So for those who are going to Marrakech soon, I invite you to go and visit. And I went to Morocco 3 weeks ago, so I had the opportunity to meet with her. And here is a record. She's explaining her creation process of this piece.
Okay, this piece was commissioned by the foundation of the Forum of InSEA. Mr. Benessa is the president, and he wanted une œuvre d'art in collaboration with women artisans from InSEA. And my approach is a collaborative approach. So I said, of course, yes. And the concept of this is basically, you see it is a library of matter, of course, but the title is noise. Noise is whatever you have in your head in the creative process, when you put out. And that's basically what you see, all the different ideas from these 12 women artisans who worked. There are different techniques. You have crochet and tricot, knitting, macrame, pompon making, you name it. You have a lot of different techniques, and weaving, of course. So the idea was to animate this workshop. It took 15 days, but it was a little more than that to create all this, 2,500 hours. There's 170 kilos of wool, natural wool, naturally dyed, except for the bleu plein, that you see, or bleu majorel. We're in Marrakech, after all. And they had to, with this raw material, they had to create their own matter, their own fabric, not an object, but just this 48 or 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter module. This is like all modules, and it's based on this unit of measure that I call it's draf, that women weavers, rug weavers use as a unit of measure. It was an important. Comment je vais dire?
Collaboration.
Because what you see here is a cabinet of curiosities in a way, but it's really like a membrane. Mm-hmm. You know, this library is like a membrane holding these pockets of what I see is emotions. Of course, there's a know-how, but most importantly is that we say in French, dépassement de soi, how these women overcame their fear, and I think succeeded in making a crafty piece into an art piece. And I love this bridges between art and craft.
Thank you very much. So the draf, what she said, it's the cubit as a measuring tool, and it's easier for the ladies to create. And so this is the piece. And the noise you are hearing in the background is the noise. They are the discussion of those ladies when they are working. So the piece is called Noise, and she considered that the working environment is important also to put within the installation. So it's kind of an immersive installation. Here another piece of Amina Ghiznaei, which is which is a piece of Amina, this one, called Ankabut, Spider. And here in the background is a piece created by her mother, Malika Ghiznaei. She is also an artist. So Ankabut was realized at the invitation of Attijari Wafa Bank, a private bank in Morocco, to intervene in the new regional branch of the bank in the capital of Rabat in 2017. She spread on the floor of the auditorium her work, Spider, a natural woolen tapestry spoon in the road, binding between them both vegetal and animal shapes in an imaginary landscape. The work acted as a passage, a transition between the internal space and the merciless order and the outside, which lets glimpse surrounding a wild vegetation. So her mother also, she develops a fascination for the vegetal world. So the pattern here you see is a pattern of the seaweed, which represents a key element in Malika's work. She's born in 1938 in Marrakech, and she studied at the School of Casablanca between 1966 and 1970. And in 1978, she started engraving at the Museum of Asila, a technique that she developed in different ateliers in Paris and New York later. Other artists derive their inspiration from their fascination for nature, and here is where there are works by Abdelrahim Yamo. He's an artist born in 1959 in Casablanca, Morocco, and he lives and works between Montreuil in France and Marrakech in Morocco. In 1978, Yamo left Casablanca and studied biology at the University of Toulouse and sociology at the Sorbonne University in Paris. He started a PhD on Moroccan art since the independence, that he abandoned in favor of painting, to which he has devoted himself since 1990. Yamo explores the three artistic mediums: sculpture, painting, and his garden, which is located in Tahanawit in Morocco, that he considers as a laboratory. Yamo is influenced by his southern origins. Through the dry and arid climate of the south forced his family to move to Casablanca. For that, through his plastic language, he tries to grow things and to show an inner garden, a mental landscape. The paintings of his first period are influenced by his homeland. He works in Montreuil and uses the ground that he brings from Morocco, and he sticks it on metal sheets found in the industrial neighborhood. His color palette varies between the sand color and the brown by passing through the shades of ochres. There is also reference to Twombly, Tapias, and Rothko, his piece called Tribute to Rothko. This piece called Benumsik, which is a region in Casablanca. Our friends from Benumsik were here. So the encounter with plants enchants the artist, and starting from 1996, new elements live in his painting. He explores the vegetal world and shows landscape, nature, leaf, trees, branch, blooming flower, etc. Here's a short video of him. Up.
Alors, dans mon travail depuis maintenant une vingtaine d'années, ma préoccupation et mon sujet de recherche dans la peinture, c'est autour du végétal. Cette histoire, c'est partie d'une fascination globale, un peu déjà comment la vie peut prendre forme, et après comment dire ça visuellement, comment dire ça en peinture, et comment sont des énergies qui à la base sont inertes et qui finissent par donner vie, en utilisant des éléments empruntés à la nature, et qui peuvent être des fleurs, des feuilles, des branches, ou des cellules, ou des molécules. Et combiner tout ça pour arriver à quelque chose qui visuellement peut tenir non seulement comme une toile, un ensemble de formes, de couleurs et de lumières, mais aussi qui raconte cette préoccupation qui est l'essence de la vie.
So this is other pieces here from his period in 2009. Those one are recent one in 2017. So Yamo has a passion for plant world, as you see, and he is interested to the birth in an organic world, the atom that evolves into a molecule and then into a unicellular organism. His painting stands on the border of figuration and abstraction. He also realized some sculpture, and to release them, he is inspired from the Nkisi sculpture, which is a stud fetish from Congo. At the top of a hard column, there is and at the top of the corn here, there is a plant, a natural one. His first exhibition in Morocco took place in 1993 in Casablanca. So another artist that is fascinated by nature also is Najia Mihadji. She realized a series of painting and drawing of flowers without stems. Thus represented the flower as suspended in the space of the medium like meteorites. Mihadji, born in 1950 in Paris, is interested in Sufi philosophy and mysticism. The exploration of the inner world, the work of the gesture, the representation of the movement, the use of pure colors are all characteristics of her work. Here another work by Shourouk Hrayesh. She's born in 1977 in Bourg-en-Bresse in France, and she lives and works in Marseille, in France also. So she is an important figure in contemporary drawing and the Moroccan artistic diaspora. She's graduated in 2002 from the National School of Fine Arts of Lyon. Her work has been shown in different cities. Through her rich and complex compositions, she proposes different possibilities of anchoring elements that come from different territories and geographies of the world. Her artistic tool is the black and white drawing with gouache or Indian ink. It allows her to occupy the space, whether it is a canvas, a paper, or a wall, with a balance between the fullness and the emptiness. Objects are sometimes present in her work, vase containing birds, vegetation. She also explores the field of performance and engages all her body in the creative process. So I'm going to show you a performance she did in her exhibition in 2017 in France. Sorry, the subtitles are in French. So this was to show you her performance on site. And she did also another performance recently for her new exhibition. So, Hrayesh proposes a walk in space and time. She tells stories which are inspired by her different travels from Morocco to Spain, to Japan, to Cameroon, in France, in Israel. She transposes her perception of the environment by reconstructing an imaginary space from a real one. She questions perspective, framework, architecture, urbanism, and nature, and nourished sometimes her visual research by archive photography. So like documentarian, many other artists are interested in the public space. They capture in their photographs urban scenes or landscapes that sometimes reveal fragile human and natural ecosystems. This is the case of Fito Burada. She's born in 1971 in Paris, who develops a reflection on post-colonial history and the challenges of globalization through a critique of the situation of Morocco. Through the series, for example, here, the Strait, Notes on a Newsless Country, or Gran Royal Turismo, Burada delivers a photographic inquiry on the ecosystem of Tangier, a port city located in the Strait of Gibraltar, which is threatened by the growing globalization. Burada practice is not limited to photography. She creates sculpture, installations, and also films. So this is another piece called Tectonic Plates. And here I found an interesting interview.
Yes, I live and work in Tangier, where I run the art house cinema called the Cinémathèque de Tanger, which is an art house and a film archive that I co-founded 4 years ago with a group of friends. So that's basically my day job. I studied history and political science and photography in New York at the end of my studies. But what I do mostly is photographs, 16 millimeter films now, because I've started to have a special interest in film, working in an archive, collecting films, and I'm mostly a photographer still. I think basically I'll say I'm focusing on the situation where I find myself. I live in Tangier. Tangier, if you want to come a bit closer, is right here. So you're at the tipping point of Africa. If I move this is a strait. You're supposed to have this space separating Europe from Africa, like Hercules did. They're back together. In 1.5 million years, this is what their project talks about. The movement of the continents is still going on, and this place will disappear. And so we can finally circulate freely. Most people don't know that to go from here to here, you cannot do that if you don't have the right passport. I'm lucky, I'm Moroccan, but I was born by chance in France, so I have a European, that red, precious passport. That makes me be free to move. So most of the goods come here, but people cannot move, even to go and study, visit. So that's part of the situation I'm interested in, being at this point. The other thing I've been working on, because I just work with reality, I don't have a lot of imagination, is the urban development in Tangier. Tangier is becoming this new place where a lot of investments are being poured. And we're sort of struggling with a model. Are we going to be Costa del Sol? Are we going to be a retirement home for wealthy Europeans? Are we going to be, I don't know, that's the question. So I'm sort of working with that as a material.
Very interesting work she's doing, and she's based between Tangier and New York, and now I think mainly in New York because she has a lot of projects. And she's represented by 3 galleries: Polaris in France, Space Gallery around the world, and Sphere Similar in Lebanon and Germany. So here another artist called Khalil Namawi is born in 1967 in Ben Mellal, Morocco. He proposes through his photographic shots a reflection on the proximity between nature and civilization. In the urban peripheries, he gained international recognition through the series The House of the Tree, this one, realized between 2009-2011, where he confronts the tree and the house in their isolation. In his recent series, so here another piece, in his recent series Air 12 Land, 2018, he captures a car type Renault R12, R12, in different urban spaces devoid of a human which are devoid of a human presence. Here another work by Yassin Alawi Ismaili is alias Yorias, born in 1984 in Khouribga, Morocco, is a street photographer with international recognition. Through his famous project Casablanca, not the movie, started in 2014, he presents another portrait of the city between tradition and modernity, far from the Hollywood cliché. In 2018, he won the 7th Contemporary African Photography Prize. So here are other shots from his series, and it's really interesting project. Another work by Zakaria Wakrim, born in 1988 in Casablanca, Morocco, and lives and works between Spain and Morocco. Through his photo series, Wakrim develops deep reflection around the concept of change and identity. He creates visual stories that give sense to local identity. For example, the series Annex, or Attachment, produced around Casablanca outskirts, explores the way old boundaries existing between the rural world and an ever-growing urban world seem to be fading away. A deep transition is taking place, a kind of collision non-expected. The technique employed, I quote the artist, the technique employed is infrared photography, for the main reason that Moroccans are getting used to these brand new landscapes. I wanted to put emphasis on certain scenes, using infrared strange chroma to point out at what's happening, which creates a wide range of chromatic, weird contrast, breaking down with the apparent normality surrounding the outskirts of the city. So, yeah. Another artist questioned the place of individual in the society. His name, Youssef Ouchra, born in 1984 in Casablanca. He invests the field of video and performance, and he explores his own body in search of a means of curing against the aggressions caused by contemporary society. In his video, Peace Cure, here we have a photo realized in 2015, he picks his body by 200 acupuncture needles. The flag hosted each marks the territory of a country. Thus, his elongated body represents a metaphor of a sick world in search of appeasement and peace. So I think the performance is 1 hour. Another work by Fatima Mazmouz, born in 1974 in Casablanca. She's interested in the feminine identity. She creates the avatar Super or Super Mom, which is a self-portrait. The pregnant wrestler is, according to the artist, a figure of resistance, as we can see here. Lala Saidi, another famous Moroccan artist, born in 1956 in Marrakech and lives between New York and Marrakech. She is a painter by training. Lala Saidi creates photographs with a pronounced pictorial meaning. To realize her compositions, she appropriates Orientalist imagery from the Western painting tradition, thereby inviting viewers to reconsider the Orientalist mythology. She writes her journal with henna on fabric that she will be used to cover women's body, like we see in this picture. The woman's body also a medium for her calligraphic scripts. In most of the case, her models fix the spectator, inviting him to develop a new perspective on women in Arab societies. She said, by reclaiming the rich tradition of calligraphy and interweaving it with the traditionally female art of henna, I have been able to express and yet, in another sense, dissolve the contradictions I have encountered in my culture, between hierarchy and fluidity, between public and private space, between the richness and the confining aspects of Islamic tradition. So here it's a series called Ballot Revisited. She uses ballots also to question the abuse of women in her culture. So another artist, Hisham bin Houd, born in 1968 in Marrakech, he has developed throughout his artistic career a photographic approach based on staging. He questions the notion of identity by using borrowed objects of his environment and by inviting his models to pose in unusual situations. This confrontation shows the crisis in his own culture. Benhoud was a teacher of fine art in a secondary school in Marrakech. Thus, he has inspired to create the series The Classroom in 1994 until 2001. He breaks the rules of the institution and puts his students in strange situations. The uncomfortable and suffering learner's body could be seen as a criticism of the education system. Another series called The Hole. Yeah. Which also will question the holes in the Moroccan system. So here we move to another artist, Amin El-Ghutaibi. Is born in 1983 in Fez, Morocco, the last one. Okay. And he lives and works in Marrakech. Amin El-Ghutaibi is a committed artist who tries to question the dysfunction of Moroccan society. He's graduated in 2008 from the National Institute of Fine Arts of Tétouan. El-Ghutaibi developed an approach more focused on meaning than on form. Exhibiting at first in Tangier and Tétouan, he quickly realized that the environment of art in Morocco remained an enclosed territory, still not open to the new forms of creation. At the beginning of his career, he travels abroad looking for a prosperous environment outside the territory of self-censorship. He returns to Morocco in 2011 after an artistic residency at the Cité Internationale des Arts in Paris, driven by the will to make things in movement. Attempting to develop important projects that demand several years of production, his works are collaborative, including other crafts or inviting the participation of the public. Here I'm focusing on two projects, or maybe one big project. This first series, they did a drawing, is called the project's Perspective of Seduction, which this one, it's called Perspective of Seduction, which invests until May 31st. Dar Moulay Ali, the residence of France in Marrakech, is an extension of the project's Perspective of Anou, started in 2018 during the artist's residence in Al-Maqam in Tahanawut. So this is the first part of the project. He said, seeing the world from the point of view of Anou is a purpose of Amin El-Ghutaibi's project. Perspective of Anou is a declination of tests on parallel sites around this animal. First, there is a series of studies on ewes in different positions, framed by spindles of perspective lines that look like cages and geometric backgrounds behind the bodies of animals. Why Anou? There is an obvious reason, a criticism of social alienation and obedience that cancels our individual political dimension. So here there were the 21 ink drawing realized in the first part of the project have resulted in wool monumental installation. What we can see here, and up. Here is the last video of the up. So, The new monumental installation, The new monumental installation plays with the physical and spiritual dimension of wool to explore the hierarchical relationship between man and animals, man and power. So the sound you heard in the video is what the animals listen to during when they are in the natural environment. So to end, I would like to say that the contemporary Moroccan art scene is rich and dynamic. Artists, local or from the diaspora, are fully aware of their origins and they are open to the outside world. They explore different mediums, materials, and technique to visually show their concerns. in addition to the issue of identity that preoccupied the artists in the 60s and 70s and which continues to be questioned using contemporary materials and tools and forms. Other topics that affect all citizens are explored, such as collective memory, changes in Moroccan society, environment, and natural ecosystem, politics, the situation of women in the society and education, and also more intimate subjects related to personal experience in life. I would like to talk about, since we have a very interesting artistic scene, we should have places where present these works and where of galleries, of museums, of private foundation. So I would like to say that the first private gallery created in Morocco by Pauline de Mazières in Rabat in 1971, and it was closed in 1991. Barada, for example, as you heard her, she creates the Cinémathèque de Tanger to save archives of cinema in Tangier. Mohamed Farij, another artist, he developed l'Atelier de l'Observatoire, another place, private place for the artistic residency, places where to share. Hassan Darsi, another artist, he created La Source de Lyon. Younes Rahmoun, for example, with Bérénice Sayou, they created Trankat Art Residency in Tétouan. L'Appartement 22, created by Abdallah Karoum, who is today the director of the Museum of Modern Art in Doha in Qatar. So a lot of initiatives are done by civic society, by members of the civil society, by a lot of different actors, but there is a lot of responsibility that the Moroccan government should, take. They have to establish a long-term efficient strategy. As I said in the previous conference, that they should establish an artistic education. They create a strategy and review education in all levels, introduce art science as a field in research in higher education. They have to also recognize the diploma delivered by the School of Casablanca. As I showed, there is two institutions. The Institute of Tétouan, it was ranked to the status of higher institute since 1994. But the School of Casablanca is managed by the city of Casablanca. So there is no funds, there is no tools for students to practice, and after their study, their diploma, after 4 years of study, the diploma is not recognized, which is a big issue. So also they need to work hand in hand, I think, because there is a lot of people. There is auction house based in Casablanca. There is an art journal published in Casablanca, which are a lot of gains for the artistic scene. And they need also to think about teaching methods and dissemination tools that are related to the context to reach more audience. So we can continue because I see Sandra. I have to end. Thank you very much for your attention.
Other questions that you would like to ask based on this presentation? Dan?
Amazing presentation. Thank you so much for sharing all these artists with us. I know that from your other presentation that you had also done all this work looking at the collections in Paris and places like the Pompidou Center. And I actually got to visit the Pompidou Center in December, and I walked through the museum looking for works by Moroccan artists and couldn't find any. I think I found like 2 19th century paintings of Morocco. And this is supposed to be a museum of modern art in a place that had for 40 years ruled Morocco and has a huge number of Moroccan citizens. And so I wonder if you, and you've just highlighted how important it is for Morocco itself also to highlight the works of artists and have venues for people to experience the art. So I don't know if there's really a question here as much as an observation, but are there other museums in Paris or other places maybe in Tunisia or in Dubai, you mentioned that are doing, that are highlighting this kind of work? Or?
In Paris, there is the Institut du Monde Arabe, which is the Institute for Arab World, which has a collection of works created by artists coming from different regions, from different countries of the Arab world. But the Institute of Monde Arabe is not that much known dedicated for modern contemporary art. As I mentioned in my previous lecture, the Centre Pompidou in Paris is the third most important collection of modern contemporary art in the world, which is they are gathering more than 120,000 works of art. So it's when we talk about modern art, we usually refer to MoMA, to Tate Modern, to Centre Pompidou. So it's important to have these collections. The Institut du Monde Arabe, they have a very interesting collection of modern art. But I don't know if someone here have visited the place. There is no place for exhibiting modern contemporary art. They are exhibiting classic works, classic artifacts from Islamic art, like you are doing a tour within the Department of Islamic Art in the Louvre Museum. But because the building itself, there is no place to show those pieces. They have a lot of pieces, but they are not exhibited, and they did not put them online also. So we wonder what pieces they are representing and what they have. So they should also review their way to show this collection and to highlight the richness of artistic practice coming from that region. And there is for sure private galleries. For example, I told you that private galleries represent different artists from the diaspora. Shourouk Hreish works, for example, with Anne Sarah Benichou. Yito Barada works with Galerie Polaris. Safarouas works with Dominique Fiat. They are all galleries based in Paris, and others, and many others. But still, the work of a gallery it is interesting for dissemination, for showing different cultures, but it's also mainly for buying and selling. So I think to reach an audience like student and different other, we need the interest I have developed in rewriting history of art. We need to also involve artists coming from that region in educational program within university. And for example, one of my teachers at Sorbonne University never knew about Bilkahia while I was doing my research in 2016. So we need to work also with big museums, because they reflect much more on what is the history of art of the 20th century and 21st century. For that, I think looking to what Centre Pompidou is doing or Tate are doing is important, and because those curators, the famous curators, are invited to create new exhibitions, and to also integrate that within educational program in the art history educational program. So there is a work which is done, but a lot of things should be also mentioned and done, and to rewrite a lot of work, to rewrite the history of art, and also the government, the other governments. Non-Western other countries have the responsibility to work on their heritage. So then it's going to be respected. I mentioned what Yunus Rahmoun said, when we are exhibiting abroad, we are much valued at home, which is sad, but it is a reality. When you have the recognition of Pompidou and the recognition of Tate, so you have a recognition at home. And usually when you are in a very important collection, so you have a higher price while for selling. So it's a kind of a system, and a lot of actors are responsible inside that system. They could be art critics, curators, artists themselves, gallerists, director of foundations, so collectors also. So it's a kind of system, and the networking is also important in this system. There is a book written by Howard Becker called The World of Art, and it's really interesting to read that there's different actors who are interfering in the recognition of a lot of artists within the world. So this is it. There is a lot of things that should be done in Western world, but also they might start in those countries. I hope I have answered you. I mean,
Very
thank you.
clearly, in fact. I think we're about at our time right now, so if you have any further questions for Abdelhedi, then please come forward and you may ask them personally. Thank you very much.
Thank you.